When dreams awaken, Sarah Chen woke to find a constellation floating above her bed. Not projected stars or holographic displays, actual points of light suspended in midair, glowing with a soft blue luminescence that illuminated her apartment bedroom. She reached toward them, fingers trembling. The nearest star pulsed brighter at her touch, warm against her skin like a living thing. "Impossible," she whispered, but even as she spoke, she remembered her dream. Sailing through vast cosmic seas, collecting stars like seashells, bringing them home as souvenirs. The constellation arranged exactly as she'd imagined it. When she got up to find her phone, the stars followed, trailing her like devoted pets. By the time emergency services arrived, they'd already begun to fade, dissolving into motes of light that winked out of existence one by one. No one believed her. Not the paramedics who checked her for hallucinogens, not her colleagues at the quantum physics lab where she worked, not even her girlfriend Maya, who suggested therapy for stress-induced hallucinations. 3 nights later, it happened again. This time, Sarah dreamed of crystalline trees with leaves that chimed musical notes when touched. She awoke to find her apartment transformed. Furnishings partially replaced by translucent growths that branched toward her ceiling, delicate crystal leaves trembling in air currents and emitting soft, haunting melodies. "Maya," she said urgently into her phone, recording video simultaneously. "You need to see this. Now." Maya arrived 20 minutes later, by which time the phenomenon had only partially faded. The crystalline structures had thinned, becoming more translucent, but still undeniably present. Maya circled them slowly, her neurobiology researcher's mind visibly racing. "This isn't possible," she said, carefully touching a branch that hummed a perfect P-flat under her fingers. "That's what I said 3 days ago," Sarah replied. "But here we are." Within a week, reports began emerging worldwide. A stockbroker in Singapore, whose apartment filled with impossible flowers after dreaming of alien gardens. A teacher in Buenos Aires who awoke surrounded by luminous butterflies that delivered messages written in light. A teenager in Cairo whose nightmares manifested as living shadows that took hours to dissipate. Dr. Eliza Montgomery, director of DARPA's Emerging Phenomena Division, called an emergency briefing at the Pentagon. The room filled with military officers, intelligence officials, and scientists, all staring at screens displaying documented incidents around the globe. "As of 600 hours today, we've confirmed 317 cases of post-REM dream manifestation worldwide," Montgomery announced. Her voice steadied despite the extraordinary nature of her briefing. "The phenomena persist for varying periods, minutes to hours, before dissolving into particles that evade standard detection methods. We're calling these individuals dreamers." General Harris, Joint Chiefs Representative, leaned forward. "How is this happening? Mass hallucination, foreign weapons system, some kind of coordinated hoax?" Montgomery shook her head. "None of those explanations fit the evidence, General. The phenomena are physically real. They interact with their environments, can be recorded by multiple observers and devices, and demonstrate consistent properties regardless of the dreamer's location or background." "Then what are we dealing with?" demanded the NSA director. Montgomery hesitated before answering. "Based on preliminary analysis, we appear to be witnessing a fundamental change in how human consciousness interacts with physical reality. Simply put, something has changed in certain humans that allows their dreams to temporarily override local physics." The silence that followed was deafening. "How many more cases should we expect?" Harris finally asked. "That's the most concerning part," Montgomery replied, bringing up a projection graph. "We're seeing exponential growth. 2 weeks ago, we had 3 documented cases. Last week, 42. Today, 317. If the progression continues at this rate." She didn't need to finish. The implications were clear. "Containment protocols are already being implemented," said the Homeland Security representative. "We're bringing in subjects for observation and testing. Media management is underway to prevent panic." What none of them knew was that they were being washed. In high orbit above Earth, the Arxur observation vessel maintained its quantum camouflage, undetectable to human technology. Inside its crystalline command center, observer first-rank Tesla reviewed the energy signatures flaring across the planet's surface. The emergence is accelerating beyond projected timelines, he reported to the gathered council members, his translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns reflecting his distress. Humans are manifesting Class 4 reality manipulation abilities through dream consciousness. High Commander Nexel's outer membrane darkened, the Arxur equivalent of a scowl. How is this possible? Our models indicated their species was at least 3 centuries from developing dream-shaping potential. Unknown, Tesla replied, manipulating the display to show human brain scans. But the neural architecture changes are unmistakable. They're developing psionic nodes identical to pre-purification Arxur. The implications sent ripples of color emotion through the council members. For millennia, the Arxur had monitored developing species throughout the galaxy, identifying those with dream-shaping potential and intervening before they could fully awaken. Dozens of promising civilizations redirected toward safer technological paths. A few, regrettably, neutralized when intervention failed. But humans were different, more numerous, more adaptable, and now, awakening faster than any species ever observed. The security protocols are clear, said Elder Vexel, her skin patterns shifting to resolution amber. We must initiate first contact immediately and implement neural suppression before the cascade becomes irreversible. And if they resist? Asked a younger council member. Nexel's skin darkened further. Then we do what we must to protect the galaxy from uncontrolled dreamers. We've seen the catastrophes that follow when reality becomes subjective. We cannot allow another sundering. The Arxur had lost their homeworld to such a catastrophe millennia ago. They would not risk the same happening to Earth, or worse, spreading beyond to threaten the stability of reality itself. Prepare the suppression technology, Nexel ordered, and ready the fleet. First contact in 72 hours. Sarah Chen found herself escorted by armed federal agents to a facility deep in the Colorado mountains. The installation, hastily repurposed from a DRPA research center, now housed dozens of dreamers under observation. You'll be comfortable here, Dr. Chen, said the facility director, Dr. Harrison Wells, leading her through security checkpoints. We're bringing together the best minds to understand what's happening. Your background in quantum physics makes you especially valuable. Am I a guest or a prisoner? Sarah asked pointedly, noting the armed guards and security protocols. Wells sighed. Neither. You're a participant in perhaps the most important scientific breakthrough in human history. But yes, for now, leaving is discouraged. The facility, nicknamed Dreamland by its inhabitants, was a strange mixture of research center and luxury hotel. Dreamers were housed in comfortable quarters, monitored constantly, and asked to participate in endless tests and experiments. Sarah met others like herself. Maya joined her a week later when she began manifesting her own dreams of bioluminescent sea creatures that swam through air. Raj Patel, a theoretical physicist whose mathematical equations sometimes solved themselves while he slept, appearing as glowing symbols hovering above his bed. Emma Winters, a 12-year-old whose dreams created doorways to places that shouldn't exist. Within the protected environment, they began experimenting with their abilities. They discovered they could consciously direct their dreams with practice. That proximity to other dreamers amplified their abilities. That their manifestations lasted longer and grew more complex with each attempt. What began as a containment operation gradually evolved into something else, a research collective where dreamers learn to harness their new abilities. It's accessing a layer of reality we never knew existed, Sarah explained during one group session. Like we've all been experiencing the world in 2D, and suddenly some of us can perceive and interact with the 3D structure behind it. Meanwhile, around the world, new dreamers emerged daily. Government facilities like Dreamland multiplied, but couldn't keep pace. Remote villages reported entire communities dreaming in synchrony, their collective manifestations reshaping local geography. Urban centers experience outbreaks of dream architecture. Buildings grown rather than constructed, parks where plants responded to human emotions, public spaces where light and sound behaved according to artistic whim rather than physics. The phenomenon could no longer be contained or concealed. Dr. Montgomery stood before the UN Security Council, delivering the briefing she'd hoped to postpone much longer. We estimate approximately 2% of the global population now exhibits some level of dream manifestation ability, she stated. The percentage is growing weekly. We are witnessing an evolutionary leap in human consciousness with profound implications for our species and our planet. The Chinese representative leaned forward. And the security implications. These abilities could transform warfare, espionage, economic systems. Yes, Montgomery interrupted. Which is why international cooperation is essential. No single nation can control or contain this phenomenon. We need unified protocols, research sharing, and joint oversight immediately. As the Security Council debated, alarms sounded in deep space monitoring stations worldwide. Massive objects had appeared in Earth orbit, seemingly from nowhere. 7 enormous vessels, each kilometers long, positioned above major population centers around the globe. First contact had arrived. Inside dreamland, Sarah Chen jolted awake from a troubled sleep. The dream had been different, not her creation, but something imposed from outside. Alien landscapes, crystalline cities, and a deep sense of warning. As facility alarms blared, she found Maya already awake in the adjacent room, eyes wide. "Did you dream it too?" Sarah asked. Maya nodded. "They're here because of us, because of what we can do." Government channels exploded with activity as enormous holographic projections appeared simultaneously in the skies over New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, New Delhi, Rio de Janeiro, and Cairo. The images showed an alien being with translucent skin through which complex organs and bioluminescent patterns were visible. Its voice bypassed ears entirely, appearing directly in the minds of billions of humans simultaneously. "People of Earth, we are the Arxer. We come in response to the dangerous evolutionary threshold your species now approaches. The abilities manifesting among you, what you call dreaming, threaten the fabric of reality itself. We have witnessed civilizations destroy themselves and others with uncontrolled dream manipulation. We offer intervention and guidance to prevent catastrophe." In Dreamland's common area, dreamers gathered around monitors broadcasting the announcement. Dr. Wells entered, his face ashen. "They're demanding we submit to neural suppression procedures," he announced. "Something they claim will redirect our evolutionary path away from dream shaping. The world governments are in emergency sessions deciding how to respond." "They're lying?" Emma, the 12-year-old, said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "In my dream, I saw their real memories. They don't want to help us. They're afraid of us." Sarah felt something stir in her own memory, fragments of her imposed dream. She's right. There's something they're not telling us about these abilities, about why they really want to suppress them. Maya's expression hardened with resolve. "Then we need to find out what that is, before humanity makes a decision we can't unmake." Around the world, other dreamers were having the same realization. What had begun as isolated incidents was becoming something else. A movement, a resistance, a coalition of humans determined to understand their new potential before surrendering it. The Dreamers' Coalition was forming, and the Arxer deadline for humanity's answer was just 48 hours away. The Dreamers' Dawn. In the 48 hours following first contact, Earth teetered between panic and cautious hope. World leaders debated the Arxer proposal, while military forces worldwide remained on high alert, despite the obvious technological superiority of the alien vessels. Inside Dreamland, Sarah Chen led a daring experiment. 23 dreamers, arranged in a circle, attempted something unprecedented. A synchronized dream state while remaining conscious, combining their abilities to pierce the veil between worlds. Focus on the Arxer homeworld. Sarah instructed the group. Not as they shown it to us, but as it truly is. See past their projections. The air in the chamber thickened as dream energy coalesced. Reality wavered around them like heat distortion over hot pavement. Then, abruptly, they were elsewhere. Their consciousnesses projected across space to a world orbiting a distant sun. Not the thriving, orderly civilization the Arxer had presented in their transmissions, but a sterile, managed environment. Billions of Arxer moving in perfect coordination, their minds linked through cybernetic implants that suppressed individual thought. Above them loomed massive structures, dream inhibitors that blanketed the planet in a field that prevented any natural dream state. Most disturbing were the expressions on Arxer faces, a profound emptiness, a hunger never satisfied. Only the leadership caste showed animation and purpose, directing the vast hive with calculated precision. When the dreamers snapped back to their bodies, the realization hit simultaneously. They aren't trying to save us, Raj said, voicing everyone's thoughts. They're scared of us, of what we represent. Maya nodded grimly. Freedom, the very thing they surrendered generations ago. Dr. Wells, who had witnessed the experiment, immediately contacted Dr. Montgomery at the Pentagon. Within hours, their findings reached the emergency session of the UN Security Council, just as the Arxer ambassador was making his final appeal. The process is painless, Ambassador Tesler assured the assembled leaders, his skin pulsing with calming blue patterns. Neural modulators will redirect your species' development away from dangerous dream-shaping abilities and toward more productive technological advances. We have guided many civilizations through this transition successfully. The American representative leaned forward. And these neural modulators, they must be implanted in every human. Only those exhibiting the dream-shaping trait initially, Tesler explained. Future generations would receive preventative treatment at birth, as our own children do. And if we refuse? Asked the Russian delegate bluntly. Tesler's skin darkened slightly. Then we cannot guarantee your civilization's survival. Uncontrolled dream-shaping inevitably leads to reality fractures and civilization collapse. In extreme cases, the damage can spread to neighboring systems. We cannot permit such a risk. The Chinese representative studied the alien carefully. It sounds less like an offer and more like an ultimatum, Ambassador. Before Tesler could respond, the chamber doors burst open. Dr. Montgomery strode in, accompanied by military officers carrying secure communications equipment. Madam Secretary, she addressed the Council President, we have critical new information about the Arxer that must be considered before any decision is made. On board the Arxer command vessel, High Commander Nexel received urgent reports. The humans are connecting through dream space, his lieutenant reported, skin flashing alarm patterns. They glimpsed our world, our true condition. Nexel's outer membrane paled to translucent gray, an indication of extreme stress in Arxer physiology. Accelerate the timetable. Begin deploying suppression fields over major population centers immediately. We cannot wait for their decision. But the protocols, his lieutenant began, are obsolete. Nexel cut him off. These humans are developing faster than any species we've encountered. If they fully awaken, they'll become what we feared most, what we sacrificed everything to prevent. Across Earth's skies, the massive Arxer ships began emitting visible energy fields that descended toward the surface. Neural suppression technology designed to dampen dream connections and prevent manifestations. The effect was immediate. Dreamers worldwide collapsed in pain as their newly awakened abilities were forcibly suppressed. In dreamland, alarms sounded as monitors showed dreamers convulsing in agony. Sarah fought through her own pain, crawling toward Maya, whose nose was bleeding from the neural pressure. They're trying to cut us off from dream space, she gasped. Raj staggered into the room, clutching a tablet. It's happening everywhere, he managed through gritted teeth. They've abandoned diplomacy. They're implementing suppression worldwide. Military responses proved futile. Jets scrambled toward the alien vessels, found their electronic systems failing as they approached. Missile launches were detected and neutralized before leaving the ground. The Arxer had prepared for every conventional threat humans might pose, but they hadn't counted on the resistance coming from dream space itself. In Dreamland's secured lab, Emma, the 12-year-old whose abilities had progressed fastest, gathered her strength. Despite the suppression field, she reached out to other powerful dreamers through the neural network they'd established. "They can block us individually," she told Sarah and the others, "but they can't block all of us together. Not if we synchronize." Throughout the facility, then across continents, dreamers joined minds in defiance of the suppression field. What began as a trickle of connected consciousness grew into a flood as more humans, even those who had never manifested abilities before, found themselves drawn into the expanding dream network. "What's happening?" Dr. Wells demanded, watching energy readings spike impossibly on monitoring equipment. "Evolution," Sarah replied simply. The next step, the one the Arxer feared. Inside the alien command vessel, systems blared warnings as sensors detected the building wave of dream energy. "Impossible," Lieutenant Vex reported, manipulating controls frantically. "The suppression field should be blocking any dream confluence. Human minds are joining despite our technology." Commander Nexel stared at the displays in growing horror. The pattern emerging across Earth's surface was unmistakable, a neural web connecting millions, then tens of millions of human minds, growing stronger by the second. "It's a cascade awakening," he whispered. The very scenario their civilization had feared for millennia was unfolding before them. "Prepare the cleansing protocols. We have no choice." "Sir," objected his second-in-command, "a planetary cleansing. Billions of sentients. We'll save trillions more across the galaxy." Nexel cut him off. "You know what unrestricted dreamers can do. You've seen the historical records of the Sundering. We cannot allow that to happen again." As deadly energy weapons began charging on all 7 Arxer vessels, something unexpected happened. The command ship's systems faltered. Lights dimmed. Control interfaces flickered. "We're being invaded," the security officer reported incredulously. "Through dream space, humans are manifesting directly inside our vessel." Throughout the ship, reality wavered as human dream forms appeared, translucent, ghost-like projections of dreamers from Earth. Not physically present, but their consciousnesses projected through dream space, bypassing all physical barriers. Among them was Sarah Chen, her dream form glowing with inner light as she approached the command center. Guards fired energy weapons that passed harmlessly through her projected form. "This ends now," she announced, her voice echoing strangely as if coming from everywhere at once. Commander Nexel faced her, his skin patterns showing conflicting emotions: fear, awe, and something like hunger. "You don't understand what you're becoming," he said. "The danger you pose." "We understand better than you think," Sarah replied. "We've seen your world, Commander. Seen what you sacrificed. Your people's dreams, their freedom, their joy." "Necessary sacrifices," Nexel insisted. "After the Sundering, we had no choice. Reality itself was fracturing under the pressure of billions of dreamers reshaping it according to their whims. Whole star systems collapsed into chaos. Because you tried to control it," came another voice as Maya's dream form materialized beside Sarah. "Because you tried to weaponize dream space instead of understanding it." More human dream forms appeared throughout the ship. Raj, Emma, and others from Dreamland, joined by newly awakened dreamers from around the world. Their collective presence created a resonance that made the ship's structure vibrate in sympathy. "Your choice is simple," Sarah told Nexel. "Leave our world in peace, or witness what truly awakened dreamers are capable of." To demonstrate, she raised her hand. Throughout the ship, dream matter began materializing. Not temporary manifestations, but permanent alterations to reality. Systems transformed, reconfiguring into new forms that human and Arxer minds could comprehend together. On the command view screen, They could see similar transformations happening on Earth below. The suppression fields were being absorbed, converted into a different kind of energy, one that accelerated human awakening rather than suppressing it. Nexel stared in disbelief. This is harmonious manifestation. Our ancestors believed it theoretical, dream shaping without reality fracture. Because we're not fighting reality, Emma explained, her young voice carrying ancient wisdom. We're revealing its deeper nature. Dreams aren't separate from reality. They're its foundation. Across the ship, more Arxur were gathering, drawn not by orders, but by irresistible curiosity. Sarah could see the hunger in their eyes, the longing for something long denied. Your people sacrificed their dreams out of fear, she said more gently to Nexel. You've forgotten what was lost. Let us show you. Before the commander could respond, a new presence entered the chamber, an Arxur unlike the others. His skin patterns were wild, undisciplined, showing emotions that proper Arxur suppressed. It took Nexel a moment to recognize him. Observer Kalstor, he asked incredulously. You were reported missing months ago. Kalstor's form flickered between physical and dream state. I've been watching the humans, Commander, learning from them. They helped me disable my neural suppressors. Traitor, Nexel hissed. Liberator, Kalstor corrected. The High Council lied to us all. The sundering wasn't caused by uncontrolled dreaming. It was caused by the suppression technology itself. When they tried to control dream space, they created the very instabilities they feared. He projected his memories for all to see, restricted archives he'd accessed, ancient records that contradicted official history. The truth of how Arxur civilization had crippled itself, surrendering its greatest gift out of fear. They knew control was impossible, Kalstor continued, so they chose elimination instead. Generation after generation of Arxur born with their dreaming abilities surgically severed. Nexel's certainty wavered visibly. If this is true, then everything we've done was based on lies. Sarah finished. But it doesn't have to continue. She extended her hand, not to Nexel but to the gathered Arxur crew. Your people can dream again. We can show you how. One by one, hesitantly at first then with growing courage, Arxur stepped forward. With each contact, Sarah and the human dreamers helped them bypass the neural suppression, reconnecting pathways long dormant. The ship filled with gasps of wonder as Arxur experienced uninhibited consciousness for the first time in their lives. Commander Nexel watched his crew transform before his eyes, not into the chaos monsters of historical warnings, but into more complete versions of themselves, experiencing a joy he could barely comprehend. The cleansing protocols, he ordered suddenly. Disable them. All weapons systems offline. Throughout Earth orbit, the Arxur fleet powered down their weapons. The invasion that never officially began was over. 3 months later, Sarah Chen stood on a platform at the newly established Dream Academy in Geneva, addressing representatives from 194 nations and a delegation of Arxur observers. The awakening continues at a steady pace, she reported. Approximately 15% of humanity now exhibits some level of dream manifestation ability. As we've learned to harmonize our abilities rather than impose them, the dangerous reality instabilities the Arxur feared have not materialized. The Dream Academy had become the center of a new field of human endeavor, the systematic study and development of consciousness as a creative force. Dreams were no longer merely nighttime fantasies, but recognized as humanity's interface with a deeper layer of reality. With the knowledge shared by progressive elements within Arxur society, Sarah continued, we've developed training protocols that allow dreamers to manifest with precision and responsibility. The applications are transforming every field from medicine to architecture to space exploration. Cities worldwide now featured dream architecture, buildings that responded to inhabitants' needs, public spaces that adapted to community wishes, transportation systems that operated partly through collective intention rather than purely mechanical means. Medical centers employed dreamers who could visualize and correct biological problems directly. Scientific breakthroughs accelerated as researchers learned to interact with natural systems through dream interfaces rather than purely external observation. Most importantly, Sarah concluded, we've begun helping our Arxer allies reconnect with their own severed abilities. The process is slow after so many generations of suppression, but the early results are promising. In the audience, Maya squeezed her hand encouragingly. Beside them sat Kelster, now the official Arxer ambassador to Earth, his skin patterns showing complex emotions still unusual for his people. What the Arxer feared for millennia has become their salvation instead, Sarah told the assembly. And what humanity once dismissed as mere fantasy has become our greatest strength. That night, Sarah stood on the balcony of her Geneva apartment, looking up at the stars. In orbit above, visible as bright points of light, Arxer and human vessels prepared for the first joint dream space exploration mission. An expedition not through physical space, but through the realm of possibility that underlaid all reality. Maya joined her, wrapping arms around her from behind. "Still can't believe it sometimes," she murmured. "All this started with a constellation above your bed." Sarah smiled, leaning back into the embrace. That's how the biggest changes often start, with someone dreaming of stars. Above them, the night sky seemed to pulse with potential, a universe not just to be explored, but to be dreamed into new forms. Humanity had awakened to its true nature, and reality had begun to respond. The dream was just beginning.